Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
An abstract or general idea inferred or derived from specific instances. The event that occurred at the beginning of something. The creation of something in the mind. An abstract or general idea inferred or derived from specific instances. The act of becoming pregnant. Fertilization of an ovum by a spermatozoan. Make by combining materials and parts. Some eccentric constructed an electric brazier warmer. An abstract or general idea inferred or derived from specific instances. Reassemble mentally. Reconstruct the events of 20 years ago. Put together out of artificial or natural components or parts. Create by linking linguistic units. Construct a sentence. Create by organizing and linking ideas, arguments, or concepts. Construct a proof. Draw with suitable instruments and under specified conditions. Construct an equilateral triangle. A personal belief or judgment that is not founded on proof or certainty. What are your thoughts on Haiti? The content of cognition. The main thing you are thinking about. The thought never entered my mind. The process of using your mind to consider something carefully. She paused for thought. The organized beliefs of a period or group or individual. 19th century thought. Music, melodic subject of a musical composition. The accompanist picked up the idea and elaborated it. An approximate calculation of quantity or degree or worth. A rough idea how long it would take. The content of cognition. The main thing you are thinking about. It was not a good idea. Your intention. What you intend to do. The idea of the game is to capture all the pieces. A personal view. He has an idea that we don't like him. A construct whereby objects or individuals can be distinguished. Decide as to where something belongs in a scheme. Attribute or credit to. We attributed this quotation to Shakespeare. An abstraction belonging to or characteristic of an entity. A collection of things sharing a common attribute. A general concept that marks divisions or coordinations in a conceptual scheme. An elaborated concept. Inventing or contriving an idea or explanation and formulating it mentally. An elaborated concept. An elaborated concept. Inventing or contriving an idea or explanation and formulating it mentally. A construct whereby objects or individuals can be distinguished. Magnitude or extent. Indicate the dimensions on. These techniques permit us to dimension the human heart. One of 3 Cartesian coordinates that determine a position in space. Shape or form to required dimensions. The magnitude of something in a particular direction, especially length or width or height. A group of ships of similar type. One of the portions into which something is regarded as divided and which together constitute a whole. The BBC's engineering division. The act of dividing or partitioning. Separation by the creation of a boundary that divides or keeps apart. Discord that splits a group. A league ranked by quality. A unit of the United States Air Force usually comprising 2 or more wings. An administrative unit in government or business. An arithmetic operation that is the inverse of multiplication. The quotient of 2 numbers is computed. An army unit large enough to sustain combat. 2 infantry divisions were held in reserve. Biology. A group of organisms forming a subdivision of a larger category. Botany. Taxonomic unit of plants corresponding to a phylum. The act or process of dividing. A concept whose truth can be proved. Scientific hypotheses are not facts. An event known to have happened or something known to have existed. Your fears have no basis in fact. A piece of information about circumstances that exist or events that have occurred. First, you must collect all the facts of the case. A statement or assertion of verified information about something that is the case or has happened. He supported his argument with an impressive array of facts. A tentative insight into the natural world. A concept that is not yet verified but that if true would explain certain facts or phenomena. A scientific hypothesis that survives experimental testing becomes a scientific theory. A message expressing an opinion based on incomplete evidence. A proposal intended to explain certain facts or observations. The learned profession that is mastered by graduate study in a law school and that is responsible for the judicial system. He studied law at Yale. A rule or body of rules of conduct inherent in human nature and essential to or binding upon human society. The collection of rules imposed by authority. Civilization presupposes respect for the law. The force of policemen and officers. The law came looking for him. The branch of philosophy concerned with the law and the principles that lead courts to make the decisions they do. A generalization that describes recurring facts or events in nature. The laws of thermodynamics. Legal document setting forth rules governing a particular kind of activity. There is a law against kidnapping. A generalization that describes recurring facts or events in nature. A concept that is expressed by a word, in some particular language. Linguistics. A rule describing, or prescribing, a linguistic practice. A rule or body of rules of conduct inherent in human nature and essential to or binding upon human society. A vague idea in which some confidence is placed. An odd or fanciful or capricious idea. The theatrical notion of disguise is associated with disaster in his stories. A general inclusive concept. Usually plural, small personal articles or clothing or sewing items. Buttons and needles or notions. The effort contributed by a person in bringing about a result. The actions and activities assigned to or required or expected of a person or group. The government must do its part. To some extent, in some degree, not wholly. I felt partly to blame. Assets belonging to or due to or contributed by an individual person or group. A portion of a natural object. They analyzed the river into 3 parts. Something less than the whole of a human artifact. The rear part of the house. One of the portions into which something is regarded as divided and which together constitute a whole. The written part of the exam. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. The business partners broke over a tax question. The melody carried by a particular voice or instrument in polyphonic music. He tried to sing the tenor part. Force, take, or pull apart. Moses parted the Red Sea. An item that is an instance of some type. My dog swallowed a Lego part. A line of scalp that can be seen when sections of hair are combed in opposite directions. His part was right in the middle. Leave. The extended spatial location of something. Religions in all parts of the world. Go one's own way. Move apart. The friends separated after the party. Something determined in relation to something that includes it. He wanted to feel a part of something bigger than himself. An actor's portrayal of someone in a play. She played the part of Desdemona. Come apart. That which concerns a person with regard to a particular role or situation. It requires vigilance on our part. A tentative insight into the natural world. A concept that is not yet verified but that if true would explain certain facts or phenomena. Capability of existing or happening or being true. There is a possibility that his sense of smell has been impaired. A possible alternative. Bankruptcy is always a possibility. A future prospect or potential. A construct whereby objects or individuals can be distinguished. Self-confidence is not an endearing property. Any movable articles or objects used on the set of a play or movie. Something owned. Any tangible or intangible possession that is owned by someone. That had as my property. Any area set aside for a particular purpose. The president was concerned about the property across from the White House. A basic or essential attribute shared by all members of a class. How much there is or how many there are of something that you can quantify. An adequate or large amount. He had a quantity of ammunition. The concept that something has a magnitude and can be represented in mathematical expressions by a constant or a variable. The act of controlling or directing according to rule. Fiscal regulations are in the hands of politicians. A principle or condition that customarily governs behavior. Short haircuts were the regulation. The act of bringing to uniformity, making regular. An authoritative rule. Embryology. The ability of an early embryo to continue normal development after its structure has been somehow damaged or altered. Prescribed by or according to regulation. Regulation Army equipment. The state of being controlled or governed. Linguistics. A rule describing, or prescribing, a linguistic practice. Measuring stick consisting of a strip of wood or metal or plastic with a straight edge that is used for drawing straight lines and measuring lengths. Prescribed guide for conduct or action. A principle or condition that customarily governs behavior. It was his rule to take a walk before breakfast. Exercise authority over, as of nations. Decide with authority. A rule or law concerning a natural phenomenon or the function of a complex system. The right-hand rule for inductive fields. Something regarded as a normative example. Violence is the rule, not the exception. Mathematics. A standard procedure for solving a class of mathematical problems. He determined the upper bound with Descartes' rule of signs. Be larger in number, quantity, power, status or importance. Dominance or power through legal authority. The rule of Caesar. Decide on and make a declaration about. A basic generalization that is accepted as true and that can be used as a basis for reasoning or conduct. Keep in check. Rule one's temper. Any one of a systematic body of regulations defining the way of life of members of a religious order. The rule of Saint Dominic. Directions that define the way a game or sport is to be conducted. He knew the rules of chess. Have an affinity with, of signs of the zodiac. Mark or draw with a ruler. Rule the margins. The duration of a monarch's or government's power. During the rule of Elizabeth. A self-contained part of a larger composition, written or musical. He always turns first to the business section. A specialized division of a large organization. She got a job in the historical section of the Treasury. The cutting of or into body tissues or organs, especially by a surgeon as part of an operation. Geometry, the area created by a plane cutting through a solid. One of the portions into which something is regarded as divided and which together constitute a whole. The finance section of the company. A small class of students who are part of a larger course but are taught separately. A graduate student taught sections for the professor's lecture course. Divide into segments. One of several parts or pieces that fit with others to constitute a whole object. A section of a fishing rod. A distinct region or subdivision of a territorial or political area or community or group of people. No section of the nation is more ardent than the South. A division of an orchestra containing all instruments of the same class. A land unit equal to 1 square mile. A segment of a citrus fruit. He ate a section of the orange. A small army unit usually having a special function. A small team of policemen working as part of a police platoon. A very thin slice, of tissue or mineral or other substance, for examination under a microscope. Sections from the left ventricle showed diseased tissue. A tentative insight into the natural world. A concept that is not yet verified but that if true would explain certain facts or phenomena. A scientific hypothesis that survives experimental testing becomes a scientific theory. A belief that can guide behavior. The architect has a theory that more is less. A well-substantiated explanation of some aspect of the natural world. An organized system of accepted knowledge that applies in a variety of circumstances to explain a specific set of phenomena. True in fact and theory. Not representing or imitating external reality or the objects of nature. A large abstract painting. A sketchy summary of the main points of an argument or theory. Make off with belongings of others. A concept or idea not associated with any specific instance. He loved her only in the abstract, not in person. Consider a concept without thinking of a specific example. Consider abstractly or theoretically. Consider apart from a particular case or instance. Let's abstract away from this particular example. dealing with a subject in the abstract without practical purpose or intention. Abstract reasoning. Existing only in the mind, separated from embodiment. Abstract words like truth and justice. Give an abstract of. Not injured or harmed. An assemblage of parts that is regarded as a single entity. How big is that part compared to the whole? Acting together as a single undiversified whole. Exhibiting or restored to vigorous good health. Whole in mind and body. To a complete degree or to the full or entire extent, whole is often used informally for wholly. A whole new idea. All of something including all its component elements or parts. Europe considered as a whole. Including all components without exception, being one unit or constituting the full amount or extent or duration, complete. Gave his whole attention. Of siblings, having the same parents. Whole brothers and sisters. Preoccupation with something to the exclusion of all else. The process of formulating general concepts by abstracting common properties of instances. A general concept formed by extracting common features from specific examples. A concept or idea not associated with any specific instance. An abstract painting. The act of withdrawing or removing something.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.